Jay Scherr.
Jay Scherr.
Jay Scherr.
Jay Scherr,
business consultant.
Jay Scherr.
Jay Scherr Business Consulting.
Hey everybody, I'm Jay Scherr with Jay Scherr Business Consulting. We help entrepreneurs and business owners maximize their potential and build rock-solid businesses. And you've joined Business Minds Coffee Chat. Napoleon Hill wrote, "Truly, thoughts are things, and powerful things at that, when mixed with definiteness of purpose, persistence, and a burning desire for their translation into riches or other material objects." A Google search of Napoleon Hill returned over 24 million results. Hill's work has had a profound impact on the lives of millions of people. On today's episode, we talk about why Napoleon Hill's work is as vital and relevant today as ever, the timeless principles to take your success to the next level, and more. Our guest knows a thing or two about Napoleon Hill. He's an entrepreneur in his own right who began his first business venture at age 15, charging admission to see his pet bear. He built a successful savings bank, a real estate development company, and a number of other successful businesses. He's a leading evangelist of entrepreneurial personal development, gives generously of his time, money, wisdom, and love, and has a passion for books and learning. Please welcome the CEO of the Napoleon Hill Foundation and the man who is helping people from all walks of life realize their infinite potential, Don Green. Don, it is so great to see you. Thank you so much for being here today.
Well, Jay, I truly enjoy sharing what little bit of what I've learned over the period of times, and I think it's I've written a lot, I've spoke a lot, and I've helped a lot, and I think that's the definition of happiness. I wrote a book on millionaire mindset on money. I was hard to write it. I asked the publisher why, and they said, "Well, we have here you as 18 years as bank president, and you've been 20 some odd years with Napoleon Hill Foundation. We know you're an investor, and we would like for you to share a little of that." And when I sent it to them, they called me and said they loved it, and said the only change they had to make in it, the publicity department wanted to change the book title. I said, "Well, you guys want to give me the title, book on wealth." And said, "Well, publicity thought the word millionaire mindset would go across good because everything begins as a thought inside our head. And that's where it all begins, either good or bad." And so it was okay. And it seems to have went across, and it's been easy to license in foreign countries. But yeah, I truly love what I'm doing. I'll be 82 years old here in a little bit. And most people would be hunting for a rocking chair or something or other else. I can't imagine not doing nothing constructive. I mean, I have as much passion as I did as when I ran that little zoo. I always had a passion for making money. Initially, it was for needs because my dad was an underground coal miner. And believe me, they did not give you a quarter for something. They'd tell you to go mow your uncle's yard. He ain't got no boys. He don't he pay you a quarter? Yeah, he pays me a quarter. Well, go mow his yard. And we pick up pop bottles for a penny a piece. And I learned things. Even I listened probably 10 or 11 years old. The guy that paid us for the pop bottles, if you got 25, or 50 walking 2 or 3 miles, you really thought you something. But he had a little sign next to his cash register. And you probably saw the sign. I've never forgot it. He said, "I once complained because I had no feet or no shoes." So I met a man who had no feet. And I always remember that. And I complained because I had no shoes. So I met a man. So we don't really, unless we think, we don't realize how well off we are. I mean, to remain healthy and whatever. Yeah. When I was growing up, I would have loved to have had one of them T-Birds or Corvettes that the so-called rich kids' dad's family bought them. But I was able to save up $400. I worked out and I bought a 36 Ford. I was the happiest kid in school, no doubt. That car was mine. I bought that car. I worked the money out. And it was a great car. I can still remember Dayton in that thing. It was called my Dayton car because it had little curtains in the side You could take the girl to the drive-in and you could pull those curtains down. And if I want to see who was in the car, they had to go around the windshield and look back in. So it was fun, but I've always enjoyed doing things. I know in banking, I come home one evening and told my wife I was setting up a company to do a cable TV. She said, "You don't even watch TV." I said, "But I just did a financial statement, reviewed one on a company. Most of their money is going to buy out competitors and they're charging way too much." And I said, average person is watching TV 7 hours a day. And I think there's a lot of opportunity. It was a tremendous thing. I didn't know about cable TV, but it was easy to put together and hire one person that had done that and pay them well. And it was no advertising. It was word of mouth. Never took a ad out, but we would charge 50% of what the other people was charging because we didn't have no debt. And it was remarkable for 15, I think 16 years. They kept offering us money. We'd build another and they offered us money. We started building another, they'd offer us money, kept going up and up. And one day I said, this looks good. It's capital gains. We haven't been taking any money out of it. And this is a windfall. So went on to something else. Well, we had spring water going. I did a whole bunch of stuff, not necessarily to take money out of it. We didn't take money out of things. It was just because I thought there was a need for it, and it was possible to do. And plus, I enjoy doing it. Just enjoy. Still do today. Still enjoy today. And so the book business, in a sense, is new, but except I always love to read. And business is business. Treat people nice, and it's amazing the response and the support we get from people because we treat them well and not expecting anything in return. And a lot of people recognize the number of young people we've helped send to college. And even this year, we started on high school kids in spring, and I've already had more than 150 local high school kids in the course, and they're getting through our college credit. And I got the easy part of it. We set the course up. It's our course. I started teaching the course in 1998. I call Keys to Success. I did the syllabus, explained to the business department what it was all about. And they said, come back to me and said, yeah, we'll give a 3-hour credit, provided you'll teach it. So they didn't have anybody available. So I taught it, 11 or 12 times. It's been taught 24 years. And you'll read there's 12 of those people, my assistant said, that was in that book that they interviewed that took the class. And one of them I remember in particular, Julie McAfee, because I run across her somewhere. And she said, though it was 24 years ago, her exam paper, she kept in her desk drawer. And every once in a while, she got out and read the message I wrote on it. And she's a tax attorney today. She was a CPA. And I know part of the message I can remember. In her paper, she said she would like to be an attorney to go along with being a CPA, studying taxes, and become a specialist. And I said, don't tell me, show me. And that's what she is today. Very, 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 very successful. And there's a lot of other stories in there. One of them, a man, I won't tell his name. You can read the book and find out. But he started a bank when he was 29. I was managing the finance office, probably making $80 a week or something other in 1975. In loving what I was doing because the company I'd finished college by going to night school, and I was getting ready to get my master's, and they were good to me, and they paid me well for what the industry was. And he called me and wanted to interview me. He said he just started a bank and he's short on management, and my name came up. I told him I could come on the weekend, but I would not take off during work. He said, well, I'd admire you for that. And I went over, and it was June 1975. It was like 5 minutes ago. He said, Don, he read the same books I've read, okay? He's an avid reader. He's a mentor. He's a supporter. He's a dear friend. And he said, you do a little extra one day, it won't matter. He said, you do it for a week, probably nobody knows it. But I promise you, if you'll work harder than the other people around you, one of these days you'll be the success that most of the world can only dream about. That's as live to me. It was 5 minutes ago. That was June 1975, 47 years ago. And it developed into a supporter, a mentor, a dear friend. And we have lunch together. Sometimes he'll call me overnight and we'll talk an hour about his taxes or what he's into. He has huge manufacturing plants. He's hired everyone I've ever sent to him that needed a job, and including my guy that's worked with me for 17 years and handles our foreign stuff. He's a Chinese, lives in Fort Worth, Texas. I told him about his wife had just graduated with an MBA from Purdue in manufacturing technology. I told him one day, I said, Alan, you don't like Indiana. They call winters. You got them twins are getting ready to start school here before long. I said, I can get you a job, sell your house and buy you a house in Fort Worth or Atlanta, and I'll get Jing a job. He said, okay. He sold his house in Indiana and moved to, he liked Fort Worth better, Fort Worth area. And he moved down there and bought him a house. In the meantime, I told him to have her go online, put an application in, and she did. And he hired her as a few years ago. And he's told me more than once, she's one of his top employees. Said he told his office staff, y'all need to be watching that little Chinese girl. Said she's going to raise the standard around here. And he said she consistently gets in a higher. He believes in giving raises based on performance, not just standard across the board, and bonuses too. And he's a tremendous employer. He pays them a bonus. He gives them a bonus monthly, $100 a month token if they don't clock in a minute short in their day. And he pays all their insurance. He pays all their retirement. And he's just wonderful to work with. But when she got the job, Alan sent me an email, which he's done before. Don, you're the best. Because I guess I kind of went out of the way, and I got enjoyment of being able to help her. Fact is, he's going with me next Tuesday to the Frankfurt Book Fair. He covered the last one with me. He's of course he speaks Chinese, and we have 45 or 50 Chinese publishers, and we'll meet quite a few of them, I'm sure. He says when he take care of the appointments, he said we had an appointment every 15 minutes for every day we're over there. And of course, a lot of people, because we have over 500 foreign publishers, and Frankfurt is the biggest book fair in the world, bar none.
Well, you definitely like to stay busy. There's no question about it. I wanted to ask you, because we are certainly going to talk about success and success principles, but I wanted to find out from you, with your vast experience, all the things that you've done, the amazing accolades that you've earned and received, how do you define success for yourself?
Well, to me, it starts off with having a goal, and I think in a sense you have to have money involved. Now, people tell you money is not important; they lie about anything. That's my friend as the exhibitor. Money is important because it can do so much good. And these 4 steps, money's got 4 uses, and I don't mean to brag, Jay, but I've read thousands of books. Okay, I'll read some books. I'll read 7 or 8 books in a week. I mean, there's a lot of nights I read a book and start on another because I'm all watching television and I can read fast. And I've read books and books and books and books. There's only 4 uses of money. I've asked all kinds of people to come with something else, and I've never had an answer. The first one is food, clothing, and shelter. That's primary. But Eisenhower said, if all you find they do in life is get food, clothing, and shelter, them guys in prison getting that. They get food, clothing, and shelter. That's not much of a life, but that's the first use of money. The second one, I call it, is we need money for a rainy day. It could be braces for the kids, broke down car, just things that happen. We need to have some money. And then beyond that, we need to have some money. But sometimes we're going to get 85 or 90 or not too old to work, or we're just not physically able. And we need money to go on, because Social Security is not enough. And the third one, I call it leading a good life. If you come home and your spouse says, Jay, there's a new restaurant in town, I'd give anything we'd go there this weekend. I said, honey, I'd love to, but that place is expensive as it can be. We'll have to wait the first month to get our check. That is not leading a good life. That's our use of money. If you want to travel, buy nicer clothes, and so forth, eat the better food and all, it takes some money. That's the third use. And the fourth one is you took care of one, food, clothing, and shelter. You got money for a rainy day. You've led a good life. You got money left over that you can spend at your own choosing. Now, you can do it or not do it, but you get to choose. You might want to help St. Jude, the church, the college, kids, your grandkids, something other than immunity or whatever, something that you have a passion for. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Most people never reach stage 4. You know why? They skip number 2. And I use Victor Hugo's quote of more than 100 years ago. He said, it's not that people were planning to fail. They simply failed to plan. And that's so true. And part of my study on this, I didn't just write off the top of my head on a little book. I did some studies. I read an NBC Wall Street poll. It said, I don't remember what year the poll was, but said in this country, 2 out of every 3 Americans 65 years and older do not have $1,000 in cash. I had that much money when I was in high school. Back a long, long time ago when a dollar was a dollar. And that's sad in this country because they failed to plan, plain and simple. And even today is when I started a class, and I did a lot of studying on it when I started a class, the first thing I told them was, I don't know where you're living in a dorm, where you're at home, where you got your own place or what. But when you get to you go home tonight, everywhere you stay, I want you to get your calendar and look at it and find someday on it. There is no someday on the calendar. When we say someday I'm going to pay my credit card off and start saving, someday I'm going to get me a stock account, someday I'm going to visit the old folks, that's nothing but lying to ourselves because there is no someday. We have to start off and say, I am going to save $10 or 10% of everybody. The amount is not so important. What's important, Jay, is a habit you get into. Oh, I know what people says. Well, I'll start saving when the kids get through school or when I pay my credit card off or this. That's another lie. If you can't save a little when you're making a little, you ain't going to save a lot when you make it. It's the habit you establish what's important. Some of your money should be yours to keep. And until you develop that philosophy, Warren Buffett said it real well. He said, if you don't make money while you're asleep, just be prepared to work all your life. So you've got to look out for yourself. Social Security, I won't say it's a joke. It was called supplemental Social Security. It was not meant to be your own source of income. Clearly in the name itself, it said that. But so many people require it. A lot of them still got debts. And I think a maximum's getting pretty close to $3,000 a month, which is not a tremendous lot of money these days. But the average is only $1,600 a month. And if it's a man and woman, especially if some of them still got kids or they got the house payment, the car payment, and all these other things, it's not like $1,600 is not a lot of money. So no wonder I said they didn't plan that way. They just failed to plan. They didn't plan at all. But then it's a consequence. And of course, the longer you wait, the tougher it is to accumulate it because Einstein he considered compound interest the 8th wonder of the world because they don't teach it in school. I don't think. At least I asked a student the other day in business and didn't know what it meant. The rule of 72, just a number that tells you how long it takes your money to double. If you're getting 12%, it'll double in 6 years. If you get 6%, it'll take 12 years. And so if you get up to 65 years old and start saving, you've not got an awful lot of time to increase the things. You can do better, but it's a time in the market. It's not time in the market. Warren Buffett tells us when we buy a stock, it's a good stock, whether it be Pepsi, Coca-Cola, or Walmart, or Apple, or Microsoft. If ever what we bought the reason to stock for, we had good recommendations, they had good rapport, good products, growing, and so forth. There's no use to sell it unless you have to have the money. I got the Sam Walton Business Award one year, and that's the only one I ever checked on. I called him and said, how in the world did I end up getting this? Well, we had a lot of nominations for the work you do in the community. And so, but part of the things is I got a Walmart cap, I got a plaque, I got a book of his, and he told in some of his writings, he said, we had a downturn in the economy. We've had several of them, but one of them, a reporter says, Mr. Walton, we understand you lost $1 billion in the stock market on your Walmart stock. He said, son, I never lost nothing. I never sold nothing. So, if you was one of those people that sold it when it went down, and gosh, I could look, but I'm sure it's over $100 and some a share today. So when it was 15 or something, that went down 10, you got scared and sold it. See where you're at today. So you got to have a belief. If you believe in a capitalistic system, that things are always over a period of time, and you can't guess the market. And there may be people out there smarter than I am, but if I buy Pepsi Cola or Cracker Barrel or one of the other many stocks, and if I think I made the right decision, I don't look at selling it unless I want to take some of it and give it to a charity or do something with it. And that's what I do my retirement. I got to take out the percentage of it because of my age, but it works out real good because it can simply be appreciated tremendously. But I can give it to a nonprofit like the college for the scholarships, and I get to credit on my taxes for what it's appreciated to, not what I paid for it. So it's a wonderful gesture to help you out. But it's another place is that you can take what you've done and do something other with it that's worthwhile.
Absolutely. Well, a lot of wisdom in what you just shared. I wanted to talk for a moment about this book that you were kind enough to send me. And I just want to read a couple of quick things here because I think this is pretty amazing. And as I was reading through the book, it just continues to highlight and amplify who you are as a human being, how you show up, and the impact that you've made on the lives of so many people. But here's just a few of the accolades, and I won't read every one of them, but Helping Heroes USA Award, Napoleon Hill Gold Medal Award, Malaysian Special Appreciation Award, the Dolly Parton Imagine Library Award, the President of the UVA Wise Foundation Board, UVA Wise Volunteer of the Year. The list goes on and on and on. There's just so many incredible accomplishments that you have been able to receive and accomplish over your 81 years, with a focus always on service and looking to better the lives of others, which to me is quite remarkable. But what I wanted to mention about this book, and the book is called 101 Attributes You Probably Did Not Know About Our Esteemed Friend. And the whole book is about you, Don. And 101 individuals were interviewed about your impact on them, and then the book was compiled. When you found out about this book and when you began to read it or look at some of the passages, tell our listeners what that meant to you.
Well, it was humbling to say the least because my marriage was 54 years and I only got one daughter, and the author, Randy Faulkner, he got a hold of my daughter and she furnished him a last picture. It was made of myself and my wife and my daughter, only child, and my only grandson. And he dedicated the book to her. We were married for 54 years and she passed away 7.5 years ago. So that meant a lot to me. But I never coached none of those people or told none of those people what to say. I guess I knew all of them quite well. And I just thought of the hundreds of other people he could have talked to, but I never said, go talk to this and go talk to that one. He's practically done before I knew it. He was trying to get it done for my 80th birthday. And he said I'd return. He was trying to return a favor. He wrote a little book on art and music. He owns a recording studio, and he just wanted to do that. And he said it's not to be sold. He put one in every library in the state of Virginia, and one in the libraries in California out there around where he is. And he sent me 540 copies to share with other people. And so he's never been one of them sold. It's not up on the internet to be purchased or something other. But when I have a chance to give one to someone that visited me or whatever, I just freely. I usually keep 2 or 3 in my car, or somebody say something other, I'll sign it and give it to them. But I told him I'd get him. I said, Randy, you need to do that book again. He said, okay. I said, wow. And I said, well, I got Citizen Year again, a second. I'm the only person in the Chamber of Commerce history to ever get the award twice. I said, I never applied for it. And then I said, coming the last Saturday in the month, I'll be the foundation. We're benefactor of the year at the University of Virginia, where we're located, which is quite an honor. And I said I got a government award as the Lifetime Achievement Award for working with young people, trying to better their lives. He said, well, I'll be glad to. I said, no, shut up. I don't want you to do nothing else. You've done too much now. I said, I don't need no more attention. I've got enough attention in my life. I said, I just want the attention to focus on the young people that we're trying to help out.
Well, it is such an incredible honor, and I'm greatly appreciative of you sending me a copy so I could learn more about you and just read what others feel and what they expressed from their hearts. It's quite remarkable. So I wanted to find out from you, for those of our viewers and listeners that may not be familiar with Napoleon Hill, Napoleon Hill's work, and the Napoleon Hill Foundation. First, I'd love it if you could maybe capture in, I know this may be difficult, but capture in a few words the essence of who Napoleon Hill was, and also why you believe that today Napoleon Hill's work is still as incredibly relevant and as powerful as it's ever been. So let's start with the essence of who Napoleon Hill was, and then why his work is still relevant today.
Okay, I'll make it short as I can. He's born in 1883. This is a poverty-stricken area. He was born in Wise County. Education was not stressed. It was not even mandatory at the time. The students usually went 3 or 4 the winter months. The rest of the time, they was expected to work in farming or doing farm work or whatever to help support the family. Boys went to work in the coal mines about normal at the age of 14. Girls about the same age got married. It was a way out and hope for a better life. But he was haunted by the fact is, why are some people wealthy and others not? And it changed when his mother died when he was 9 years old, and she was only 24 years old. But his dad married a year later, but that changed everything. He married a woman who was a widow woman, but she was also a school teacher. Her husband had been a local high school principal, and her father was a doctor. And she said, this poverty is going to start. It's going to stop when you come into the family. So she started education. She got him a typewriter when he was 13, and he had an imagination to begin writing stories and so forth. And he was, I won't say he was the brightest person in the world, but he had a drive in him about studying successful people. He went to business school about 8 months, and he got a job with, he considered the richest person in the area. A guy named, they called him General Rufus Ayers. He had been Attorney General of the state of Virginia, but he had been in the Civil War at the age of 14 and had read law. And he had hotels, and he had a bank, and he was in the lumber business and coal business. And he built a big mansion, which still stands today, was later owned by a 6-time U.S. congressman. But he studied those people. And through his introductions, who was Bob Taylor's magazine, a U.S. senator, and he went to work for after. And he sent him out to interviews, and he interviewed people like in 1980. He interviewed Andrew Carnegie. Of course, Andrew Carnegie's a story himself. He come over at 12 years old, very limited education, but he was very, very successful, a millionaire by 30, founded U.S. Steel. But he told Napoleon, it shouldn't be necessary for everybody to have to start all over. So there's a need to develop a philosophy. He said he didn't know what the word meant, to develop a philosophy on success. Why are some people successful and others not? He spent a lifetime doing it. It wasn't birthright. It wasn't necessarily education. I mean, hey, Bill Gates didn't graduate from college. Old boys didn't seem to have done pretty good. So it's something else inside of us. And of course, and I say it's passion, it's a purpose. He defined purpose as the starting point of all achievement. And of course, they were old regular Baptists, very devout people, but there's so much of it, he doesn't stress it so much, come out of the Bible. The Bible tells us we must find our purpose. If we don't have a purpose, we're wandering around like every which way the wind blows. And like in making plans, it tells us in the Bible to build a building, first we must figure its cost, sit down and devise a plan. It talked about going the extra mile, what in principle going the extra mile was. That's when when the people complained about being made beast of burden for the Roman soldiers. They complained, and they were said the answer they got was they thought sympathy. When a man asks you to go a mile, go twain. Twain means twice. Do more than you're required. And he talked about faith, and when he says faith, he says applied faith. You can say you believe something. Do you really believe it? Take action on it if you do. That's applied faith. So he developed these principles over a period of time in like a positive attitude. You know, they over and over these guys say attitude will determine your altitude. And you talk about as a rebel today. When people ask me, I said it's like gravity. If you visit your grandpa on the weekend, he's got a barn that's 50 foot high, and you get up on top of it and jump off, you're probably going to get hurt. It doesn't matter. It's gravity. It doesn't matter if you did it last year or you do it next year. The principle is the same. And everybody out there is using Napoleon Hill material. We don't need to go through the laundry list, but you know who they all are. Without Think and Grow Rich, without Napoleon Hill, they would no doubt come up with something other, but they're just turning over what Napoleon Hill said over and over and over. And I said he spent a lifetime doing it, but he and his wife, they had a dream of continuing the philosophy, and she more than anyone. He married in 43, and they were still married in 1970 when he died. She ran the business. Part of it was to set up a nonprofit, and they put all their book copyrights into that nonprofit, which is Napoleon Hill Foundation, founded in 1962 when he was 79 years old, and she lived to 1980. She lived to 1984, 14 years after he died, and she was worth more than $1 billion. And she'd have been worth a whole lot more if she'd have kept the copyrights of the book, which she gave away because she wanted the philosophy to continue. So that's kind of about as short as I can make it. But you know, if you come in my office, you'll see my social media's got a sign up. 2 ways we learn: books, being around smarter people. And I think he stressed both of them. You know, we're a product of those people we spend the most time with over a period of time. So being around smarter people and learning from books, that pretty well sums it up. Because I'm an average reader, and I believe what Mark Twain said: people that don't read are no better off than people who can't read. And people like my attorney and my friend at Hardman Bank Business, they're average readers. They're average readers. I mean, it's such a wonderful thing to be able to read all of this material, what people's thoughts and so forth. It handed down to you, and so cheap. I mean, to get access to their information and so forth. I mean, it just amazes me that we don't have more readers than what we do.
Well, I'll share this with you, and I've shared this before on this podcast as well as other podcasts. I was not a reader as a child, not a serious reader. I read comic books, but very infrequently did I pick up a book. And I do remember the first book that I read, but Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, came into my life when I was in my very early 20s. And I'll tell you, Don, when I first read it, it did not connect with me. And I know why now. I've since then have read it many, many times, but I wasn't ready for the book. I wasn't ready intellectually. I wasn't ready emotionally. I wasn't ready through maturation. And when it came back around and I read it again a few years later, I was a different person at that point, and the book then connected with me on multiple levels. Since then, I read it on a regular basis. And I know you hear this constantly, but I've been blessed to have hundreds of guests on this podcast, and I would say that without running the exact numbers, in the 90% range, the guests that I have had on, at some point in the conversation, they mention the impact of Napoleon Hill's work, and typically they point to Think and Grow Rich or one of the many other writings. But you must hear that on a constant basis. When you do, does it still does it surprise you at all when you hear it as often as you do, or each time you hear it, is it still, I know?
Yeah, and Hill said it over and over again. And I was thinking you of the statement when you said it. Hill said, when the student was ready, the teacher would appear. You wasn't ready the first time. And I have get this question from people says, well, I read it once, while I should read it again. I said, well, maybe you're smarter than I am. I said, I didn't get it all the first time. I didn't get my ABCs all the first time. I had to keep saying them. I tell people I was a student. I don't mean a capital A. I was a little A. I said, I learned my ABCs by going over and over. Jay, somebody walks up and says, Jay, what's 8 times 8? 64. It's in your subconscious. You may not have said it since 6th grade, but you said it. We learn by repeating. That's the reason auto-suggestion, we could do a whole program on auto-suggestion. That's the reason it's important. The book by Hempstetter says, what do you say you talk to yourself? Most important conversation you'll have in your life. Your wife might can tell you, Jay, you'll never get that program. You just don't have the background, this. You can either believe her or you can tell yourself, I know I can do it. I know I can do it. I know I can do it. It's what we say to ourselves is important. What someone else says to us, we can shake it off. But we tend to believe what we repeat to ourselves. It's tremendous. It's tremendously important. But I get that. I get that question a lot. And I get the question a lot. People say, Think and Grow Rich is not about money. Well, yeah, it is about money. The original copy. Let's see if I got one here. This is the best Think and Grow Rich on the market, bar none. Bar none. It's an exact copy of Napoleon Hill's personal 1937 first edition. And the original copy had a top for men and women who resent poverty. He said in the book, he wrote it for the millions of women living in poverty and in fear of poverty. Both of them will kill you. And that's the reason he wrote the book. It was in the middle of the Depression. And of course, he took a little less emphasis on money later in life, like when the last book was Grow Rich at Peace of Mind, which I just love, because he realized it was more than money. It was the use of the money that brought you peace of mind, not just accumulating a lot of money or toys. I use that song of Peggy Lee's, it's all there is. If we keep accumulating toys, there's not but one road to happiness. And you can interview all the psychologists in the world, and there's not but one true way to happiness. That's to make someone else happy. Because as long as we're concentrating on ourselves, unless we got Elon Musk's money, we'll never have enough. Always somebody's got more, somebody's got more, somebody's got more. And if that's our goal is, we're going to be miserable because we got $1 million. I need 2 million. No, 2 million. I need 5. I need 5. I need 10. If that's all we concentrate on, then we're going to be miserable. We better find some passion that we can transfer to someone else, get our mind off of us and on someone else that's less fortunate than we are. And to me, that's true happiness. I think we're supposed to serve one another. That's the reason I love entrepreneurship. I absolutely love businesses that you can create, not with necessarily something not what you love to do, but something that somebody either needs or they want. And that's what drives the market. And it's not what we're doing for ourselves. Probably the least reason to start a business was a goal to make money. Because if it's just make money, why don't we go into the drug business? Got you make some money quick on it. And if you buy off the right people, you may survive. I don't know. But genuinely helping someone else is a true road to happiness, I think. And it comes back to you. I mean, I do something every single day, and I'm not the most religious person in the world, but I got a sign on where I eat my breakfast. It says, God, show me someone I can help today. In Jesus' name, amen. I know before I leave the day, I'm going to send someone a book, or I'm going to have a conversation with someone. I'm going to tell someone I'll do an interview, or I'll do something. I'll write a forward. I'll do something another. And it's a pleasure. And I'm expecting nothing in return. I mean, just enjoy talking to you. I should pay you for listening to me instead of the other way around. I mean, I'm sure you'll help us out a lot. It'd be good for people. I think I'll get something from it. But it's enjoyment to meet you when you just listen. We tell my story because I tell it over and over again. I spoke to 20,000 in Vegas one time. My wife said, what in the world are you going to tell 20,000 people? I said the same thing if it's one student, freshman in college. Same thing. I tell them they're in control. They're in control. And decisions they make, either good or bad, will form habits. And those habits over a period of time will define who they are. Just plain and simple. But the thing is, they get to choose. They get to choose. I mean, I've got a little sign that's published in one of our books that I run them off of. Should have put one in your book. It just says on it simple. If it is to be, it's up to me. If you get up in the morning, you got problems, go in the bathroom and look in the mirror. Right there's the answer. Right there's the answer. You can make all excuses in the world, but you might as well go sit on the front porch in a rocking chair and sit there all day. It may please you to sit there all day, but it won't take you nowhere. It won't take you nowhere.
So true. So very true. So you had mentioned earlier in the conversation about a program that is in the schools that you personally taught, as well as other instructors. Share with our audience, if you will, what some of the things that the Napoleon Hill Foundation does, including from an educational perspective. And if you also could maybe share for us what the vision is moving forward. So what does the future vision look like as well for the Napoleon Hill Foundation?
Of course, I'm a born optimist. We've had hundreds and hundreds of kids, but you call me a greedy banker if you want, but I'm not your ordinary academician. I don't believe in just grabbing this government money or something and spend it and go and get some more and spend it. I believe in being good stewards of the money. This money we've made, we set up endowments. For example, I've got 24 something one group. It gets $4,200 a year. We don't spend that money. That's our earnings off of one of the endowments I've set up. And then I set one up. We let $2 million in. The income off it handles for high school kids. It'll pay for 300 some of them to take our online course. I just started that in the spring. I've already got 150 some kids in it. They will get a 3 hours credit through the University of Virginia. So they're getting up on if they really take it to it, they're getting up on starting in college. Because all we did was we organized a class on my material. It's completely online. And they set up a website on the college. All we do is get them to enroll. I go speak to the schools and do interviews and so forth with the schools and talk to the students and sign them up and pay for it. Then the college maintains it. And I don't have one with me, but we give them a little size of a postage card, which got a QR code on it. They can take their iPhone, click on that, and they can sign up if they're ever going to school. It's called Keys to Success. They won't have to enroll in the college. And then when they get accepted and they get the password, we pay the college for them taking the course. We're done with it. For as that is, unless they need something. I do furnish them a Keys to Success book, and I give all of them a T-shirt that says Napoleon Hill on the front of it. It's got his picture. On the back, it's got a QR code where they can actually take a picture of it and sign up, and it says success starts here. And we just started that in the spring. But what I did was, I probably won't be around by the 20 or 25, I don't know, years, but I did it with the intention as, hey, I'm doing something that will last. One of the books I did with Jim Stovall, matter of fact, is they just donated 50. Somebody sent something, I got a copy of it, said, yeah, we'll be glad to give you 50 copies for your cause, something of the humanity or something. It was a nonprofit. But it was my idea, and I did the book with Jim Stovall, and it's a gift of giving, living a legacy, not leaving one. If Don don't need to wait and die and leave a sum of money, take and disperse it and do something with it. I want to give it to them while I'm alive, and I can see them kids going to school and seeing them turn out. I mean, like them kids in that first class back in 1998. Lots of them kept up with me, and I know the story of so many of them. Why can't you do it while you're here? And that's where I thought, after this COVID thing comes up, I said, it's a little bit hard for kids to take classes or work. I said, it just come to me, why don't I want to start a high school course? And I started working at it, promoting and doing interviews and going to schools and talking and so forth. But my goal is to have 200 by the end of the calendar year, and we're in 150 some now, so we'll get there. But the thing of it is, if I don't make any more money, the money's already in an endowment invested by the University of Virginia, and they will use the earnings off of that money to pay all these kids up next year, and so forth. And we also have set up a professorship in Napoleon Hill's name. That a selected professor. I don't pick them. They pick supposedly an outstanding professor and to give to. Then I personally set up a scholarship that will award the professor, a bonus for their working with these students outside of the regular classroom. That means going to the high schools and the Job Corps and the domestic courts and so forth, and speaking to these youngsters about the principles, because the young people have a tendency to listen to young people better than will the older people. You can't tell us nothing. We get to this age, we know everything. But the young mind's easy, a lot easier to mold, both good and bad. And so we've done other things. There's a whole list, and I got scholarships in my name, my wife's name, me and my wife's name. I've set one up in some individuals' names that I had a lot of respect for. It's just numerous things that I could see a need for it to kind of help out a little bit. I don't need nothing. I don't need another car. I got one car. I mean, why do I need another car? I don't need another house. I'm not owned a lawn more than 50 years. Somebody some person needs to work to cut my grass and so forth. I don't need any material things. Whatever. I travel and go anywhere I want to go. And what should happen to another house I got to look after? I want to go to different places, different times. I've been asked that, why don't you have a resort? I said, well, my daughter's got a villa down the hill. They had to go down there if I want. I go down there I want to once or twice a year, but I want to go to different places. I said Tuesday I'm going to Germany, my 4th trip. But I've been to California probably 25 times, but I haven't been back since July. But anyway, I don't desire for things except help somebody else. And I could go on, but it would sound like boasting, and I don't want to do that, because there's a whole lot of other things outside of the Napoleon Hill Foundation. And I'm talking about the church in St. Jude's and a whole bunch of other causes that I have a desire to help out.
Well, I'm going to go back to this book for a moment, because as I was reading through it, the various passages, many of them point back to exactly what you just talked about serving and about giving back and all the different areas that you touch that go beyond Napoleon Hill Foundation. So it really is, it's an amazing living legacy, the doing now, the being able to give back now, the ability to be able to help people change their lives and change their legacies through much of the work that you do. I'm curious, prior to Napoleon Hill's passing, did you have an opportunity to meet him?
No, I didn't. He died in 1970, and he wasn't living here. He was living in South Carolina when he died. But his grandson is on my board of trustees, and his second cousin was my golfing buddy. We went to school together forever and ever. And his first cousin, Glenn, I interviewed him on his 100th birthday. He liked a few days being 102 before he passed away. But I had a historical marker put up in 1998 honoring Napoleon Hill, which I paid for. That's another story. But he's only an author recognized in the state of Virginia with a historical marker on the highway. And I invited people, and he had 7 living first cousins at that time. And like Glenn remembered him, one of them, the last one to die. And I got his own recording of 30 minutes. I recorded it. I've never put it out there, but he remembered him. He remembered his dress. He always had a little dog, always drove a big car. And I think at the time he was talking about it was probably the Rolls Royce, because he wrote about it, said he liked to drive back to the river where he sat and fished when he was hungry as a boy. And he'd drive his car up there and park and bring back memories. But Jay, if I can, I'd like to mention a couple of things. I got a book coming out I really, really worked on, and it's published by Humanix Magazine, the people that publish Newsmax. And they called it Napoleon Hill Secret by Don Green. I did a lot of work on it. I think I don't have a book yet, but it's Napoleon Hill Secret by Don Green. If I go to our website, naphill.org, it's not a little cheap paperback. It's a 275 hardback book, and I hope it turns out well. It seems like the foreign people are already publishing it, because when we get the PDF file, we can license it, and I keep all the foreign rights. But it starts off as an introduction, about 15 pages, if I remember right. It explains a lot about Hill, but it talks about being positive. But one of them really, really, really was, I think, understanding what you want. I mean, a lot of people, I want a lot of money. Well, how much money? Well, they're not specific. That way they've not committed themselves. You got to commit, so this is what I'm going to do, and write it down. And I wrote on things like surviving disappointments. So many people see something that happens and they let it stop them. You can either take it as an obstacle to stop you or something to propel you forward. But guess what? We get to decide which one we want to do. Is this tough? But I wrote them like adding value to your life, and so forth. And I think I wrote a lot, but on Hill. But in fact, I wanted to publish it as but Napoleon Hill, and they said, "Don, we can't do that." I said, "That's you." I said, "Well, I used a little bit of what I did." I said, I don't have no ego. I just want to make money for the foundation." But I'm starting a thing now with a young lady from New York who I've not known all that long. But we're doing a course, and I've always wanted to do it for a long, long time. It's called Self-Confidence Course. And without self-confidence, we're not successful. It's probably as more important one topic, because I asked a psychologist here at the college. I said, "Winston," I went to school together. He's got a PhD. I said, "If you had to say one thing that's holding young people back, what would you say it is?" He said, "Lack of confidence in themselves. They see it in everybody else." So we got a course. It's at naphill.org. It just started. It's just starting last night, and it'll be a 6-session course on explaining self-confidence, how you get self-confidence, and the benefits of self-confidence. And if that course is not worth the money, I don't know what is, because there's so many people out there. That's the one thing that holds them back, is they don't have confidence in themselves. Because Hill asked in his things was, how many times on the average do people try something before they quit? And the audience are 1, 5, 7. No. He said the average is less than 1. Most people don't even start. Why don't they start? They don't have a passion and have self-confidence that they can succeed in what they want. And that's it. They got to develop self-confidence. I don't mean the same saying I can jump off my grandfather's barn at 50 feet high and I'm not going to get hurt. I'm talking about measured self-confidence, things that you can do, as the qualities you can develop, like a positive attitude, humility of heart, and honesty, and so forth, desire to help others, and so forth, that you can develop self-confidence and be successful in life, and know that you can make a difference. No, we can't help everybody, but we can help somebody. We can't do everything, but we can do something, and that's what I would like to be when you're going out. Said, wouldn't it be something you lay in there and you're not going to know what they say about you, but if somebody's saying, "I wonder how much money you had, how much money you left." Well, I can tell you how much money left. He left it all. He didn't take none with him. But it would be a whole lot better if someone said, "I wonder how many kids that got help. I wonder how much he did for the old folks home," or whatever, on and on and on. And to me, that's what the legacy is about. It's not about how much money you accumulated, how many cars you got. I mean, why would I want to go get another car and I can't drive one? I don't understand it. I don't have that kind of ego. I want a dependable car, and I don't think I want. I got 5 or 6 years old, but them things. I said, there's one thing I guess is a little different, and that's dress. And I've learned that, and I learned we dress for other people and show their respect. And that's what I tell one kid in school. And she's a cute little blonde. Said, "Mr. Green, I don't think if you know what you're doing, the dress is important." I said, "Okay, let me ask you a question. Just say the high school quarterback, the quarterback comes here," and I said, "You've been watching him for weeks. You'd give anything if he called you for a date. You going to dress up when you?" "Yeah, I'm going to. I'll make a good impression on him." "Now, why would you not want to make a good impression on a bank president?" And she said, "Oh, I understand." I said, "That's the second lesson. Now, life's not fair. We deal with reality. People get treated better than the rest if they're dressed better." I said, "You can read the study at USC or UCLA, one of them. They filmed a low grade, I think it's first grade or maybe kindergarten, teacher with her not knowing it. She treated the kids better that were dressed better. Yeah, that's not fair. That's not fair, but it's reality. And you'll get better treatment at the restaurant if you were presentable rather than you went in there. I mean, them when kids said, "Hey, that guy, he's a regular bum. I'll be lucky to collect from him. He ain't gonna leave me no tip." And see somebody else that's dressed up, mannerful, whatever, and so forth. And all, they're not stupid. they're not stupid. And but you dress for the other person. You say, it's a pleasure to meet you, to be in your company or whatever. And I want to make a good impression rather than a bum. I mean, other than that we wouldn't even have to take a shower. I mean, it would be around somebody else that we offend. But that is one of the lessons in life, is because I don't mean being stuck up on yourself, but if you don't love yourself, you can't love nobody else.
That is so very true.
What we're all on the outside is simply a reflection of what we're on the inside, good or bad. But again, we get to choose.
So wise. I'm going to provide links, obviously, to your website. I'll provide a link to the self-confidence course as well. And the book that you just referred to, the latest book, when I was doing some research, I saw that the publisher was going to be releasing that book, I believe, in February of 2023. I don't know if that is right, the drop dead date, but that there is a link available to that book, and when it is released, we can pre-order as well. So thank you for sharing that information. I don't play a lot of what ifs in life, but since I've got you here, I have to ask this question. Since you didn't have an opportunity to actually meet Napoleon Hill, but clearly his work, you're around it all the time. You're an expert in what he was able to create and leave as a gift to this world. If you were sitting across from Napoleon Hill right now, what is one question that you would love to ask him and to find out from him?
I guess one was the lack of attention he gave to his family. He didn't. I'm not criticizing him. He didn't lead a balanced life. He was so hung up on what he was doing. His first wife, he had 3 sons by, and they all turned out well. And I said one of the grandsons is on our board, and three grandsons are medical doctor, and one's a investment banker. So the family has followed suit. His first wife was 25 years. He married a girl from a rich family in West Virginia. Her uncle's governor, and they was in business, but he was gone all the time. I mean, he was an absentee father. And even JB would admit the philosophy cost him his marriage. And to me, his success, the Mormon saying is, and I got some good friends, lovely friends who are Mormons, success begins in the home. And I would say he failed on that. I would ask him, would he reconsider it? Because, I remember Zig Ziglar, I did a fundraiser with him, and he's talking to this old guy, and said, the guy said, he's always worried. He's at work about how things was at home. And when he's at home, he's always worried about how things was at work. He said, well, you're wore out from your mind traveling. But, there's some balance, and it may be hard. And I could consider I was guilty of it. But I saw it as president of Little League. People would drop their kids off. Well, it could have been more important than watching your kid play ball. As a little youngster, particularly death, see their dad, or especially if they got on base or whatever. But it wasn't nothing important to the parents. And they disassociate with themselves. I mean, they grow apart, and the kids are going to get attention somewhere or another. I say it's faith, family, and friends. And it may not be real easy to balance it, but I was always able to accomplish a lot. My wife complimented me, and I never worked nothing in my life. I always got somebody to do it for me. And I kind of prided myself on that because, my assistant came over and set this up. We'd still be looking for something if I had to do this. He come back to my desk and he said, Don, your interview's ready. And I walk over here and sit down. There's a whole lot of stuff I don't have to learn. I can get somebody else to do it. And just like I'm not too good to mow my grass. I mowed grass for a quarter. I done it all. But my time is worth more than that. And so I'm helping someone else. Because I asked the guy how much he charged mowing grass, because the last guy got too old to do it. And he told me, I said, you just come mow what needs to be mowed. Tell me when you're coming, I'll leave you a check. I said, but I'm going to pay you twice what you told me. He said, you don't have to do that. I know I don't have to do it. I don't want to do that. I want you to be dependable. And if you have your problems, let me know. And, so it doesn't benefit. And just like right now, I got this little lady, she's a widow, her husband dead, and I don't have a cheat. But she told me what she charged. She comes in, does my clothes and everything, and she got a key. She get in the house and do my clothes and all. And I said, Rhonda, I can't do that. I can't work you for that. I said, I'm gonna pay you twice that. You don't have to do that. I know I don't have to do it. I want to do it. I want to help you. And so there's a joy in that of helping other people. But I can tell you what his nephew said. He was our chairman. He died at age 85, Charlie Johnson. Napoleon sent him to medical school. He knew him since he was 6 years old, and he referred to him as Uncle Nap. And he constantly told me over and over and over, he always still called me Donald. He said, Donald, Uncle Nap sure would be proud. Every time we discuss results or have meetings or whatever, he'd say, Donald, Uncle Nap would be proud. So I think he would. I think we would. Because they were only in one foreign country. I have over 500 foreign publishers. When I started, there were 16 books related to Napoleon Hill. And today there's 170 some books that's related to his material. Of course, it took me 22 years, and I'd do something other and said, why have you already done that? Well, one is I can't do everything at one time, and I don't want to do everything at one time. But the idea was to perpetuate what we're doing. So we've created enough money. If we was to quit today, is these kids going to go to school and go to school and go to school and go to school on the money that we created. And that was my goal the whole time. When I started, I used a little office in the cleaners. It was about 12 foot square. I had a phone and a fax machine. It cost $89.95 from Walmart. It was in business. I already had the books. My friend gave me a little about 3 foot square desk. And I was transferred to accounts from Chicago down there, and I was in business. And I was getting a girl to come from the bank, type up my writing, because there was no internet in 2000. And she typed them up at night and give them the next morning, and I would fax them out. She asked me one day, said, Don, what are you going to do with these books? I said, the first thing we're going to do, Anita, I'm going to give the college $1 million. Then tomorrow we'll take off. And I asked her later, I said, do you believe what I said? Yeah, you've always done what you said. And but it's been fun. It's been fun.
Wow,
it's been fun.
It is really remarkable. As we wrap up our conversation, and before I ask you my final question, I would love it if you would give our listeners a challenge, one challenge that you would ask of them.
Well, I think we all ask, and I'll ask myself is, what can I do to help someone that's less fortunate than I am? I don't care where it's visiting a rest home or whatever. And it don't have to be something great. Just like my daughter, she's got some little girls in the church that probably don't have the best of clothes and all. She takes pride in dressing those little girls, seeing that they've got clothes and so forth that, to wear to church and to school and whatever. So we can pick out something other that we have a love and we have a passion for. And in return is, I remember seeing a little thing on TV. This little lady, it's Unicoi, Tennessee, as you go over to North Carolina, and she had her own bonnet and all. And she says, when I get to worrying, I go hoe in my garden, because I can't hoe in my garden and worry at the same time. So we can transfer our worries over to helping someone else out. You can't be visiting nursing home people. If anything, you'll be thankful that you're not in there, that you'll be able to say a kind word or take a cake or do something other maybe in a small gesture to you, but it's a large gesture to them. And when we don't do a favor for someone, when we got a chance to, we don't want to be cheating. We're cheating ourselves, because that's where our creativity and our peace of mind is. I can go to sleep. I'll swear, I bet you I can go to bed in 15 seconds.
Wow.
I go to sleep, because while you lay there and think about this and think about that and so forth, and you lay down and go to sleep, and I turn my mind off and I go to sleep, but I wake up in the morning and I'm full of things that's popping into my mind even before I get through eating. And I've constantly done a little I keep in front of me and on my desk a little to-do list. I've always done that. I've had people, I had a lady come up to me, I was goal writing, and she says, I have goals, but I don't write them down. That's what we call dreams. If you look up a book in Hanukkah, and I guess that's not the pronunciation, but it says, if you have a vision, write it down and make it plain. If that's not good advice to get, I don't know what it is. If you think enough back to write down, you said, this is a contract for me. This is what I'm going to do.
Wonderful. Thank you for that challenge. Here is my final question to you, Don. What is the most difficult decision that you've had to make in the pursuit of who you've become?
Being sure to associate with the right people. It can be tempted to a lot of money thrown at you, but I have attorneys I've worked with for 20 years, 22 years to be exact. He worked 33 years for K.L. Gates, who are listed attorneys. And if he comes up with information on people that it wouldn't reflect on the foundation, I take his advice and we don't go with them, even though it may be a chance to make a lot of money, because we got one word and I think we're to operate. Now, I'm not saying we're perfect or we don't make mistakes, but that word is integrity. And it's more important than money. To me, it's much, much more important than money because you can't buy it, you earn it. And I don't want to risk that. You know, you can build a character for many, many years, and you can also destroy it in a matter of moments. And so I have to not be tempted to get into things that, though they may be apparent money or even a lot of money up front, that we choose. We can't do everything anyway. So we're blessed to be able to pick and choose, and we might make mistakes, but at least we have to make an attempt to do what we think is right. Because, like I said, we can't do everything. So we're extremely busy with a number of books and a number of publishers, and what a small staff we have. And we have to do that way to, we're not doing this for a salary. We're not doing this for money. Because when it comes to a point that has to use money from what's coming to us for that, but then it's time to let somebody else take over. And there'll probably somebody come by and maybe do 10 times as good as I can. I wish them all the best. I don't have any hard feelings. I was the bank president for 18 years. I wish them all the best. I left with no ill feelings. I told them I wouldn't go to work for another competitor. They paid me a salary for a year even after I left. It wasn't even in my contract. They let me keep the company car for a year because I guess they wanted to maintain my goodwill and whatever. But I didn't ask. It was just, we're not something legally a contract binding or something. But I knew what I wanted to do because they constantly told me, Don, if you ever get out of the banking, because Mike can't travel and he had health problems. And so I worked at the bank one day on a Friday when the date was, I told me I would leave. And on Monday, I started working on setting the foundation up. And so I didn't take it. And I think they said I'm supposed to take 6 weeks of vacation. I said, I'm on vacation every day. You know, I take a notion to go somewhere. I call the trustee. Well, I think I'll go spend a couple of weeks somewhere or another. Nobody keeps up with it. You know, I don't even have any days to take off. But, you know, I try not to tie nothing down on Friday afternoons because usually after, you know, a decent time. Like tonight is, I got to leave a little bit. I got to drive to Abington, you're right town to speak at an annual, I guess it's an annual dinner of Association of Gas and Oil Producers or something. I know the guy's president of the association, and he told me to give me a nice check if I come over. I said I was thinking a little bit more than that, but I was kidding. And I got a message up for us down. He said, Don, reception's at 6 and dinner's at 7. Come hungry. But he just wanted me to speak about Hill. But the wonderful thing about it is I aren't a permit. I don't know how I come across or what have you, but it was what I call you. It's what comes from inside of me out. You know, I had to read something other, and sit there and do it. It's what I got in me, and so if I make mistakes, then just so be it. But I've went through the information over and over and over and over and over, and I'm just trying to portray a little bit would help somebody out.
Well, I know that you've done that today for so many that are going to be watching and listening to this conversation, and I want to express to you how much I appreciate your time. I appreciate our connection and our relationship, and you're such an inspiration, Don. You truly are, and your ability to be able to give to others and all the things that we've talked about today, just truly something for the rest of us to think about, and to you've raised the bar, and thank you for that. And I want you to know how grateful I am for you joining me today on Business Minds Coffee Chat.
Well, I appreciate, Jay, you giving me the time. And if we help one person out there that they go on our website and they get a book or take a course or whatever, I'm really excited about each book that comes out. Even like it's from in the archives, and there are these hundreds and hundreds of books we asked them to send us to in these foreign books, and I can't read them. Very little, few words. I can pick them up and see if our copyright notice is inside of it. And I was like a kid at Christmas to get a couple of books just printed in German or something or other. I never tired of it. And the new books we got coming out, we got this one. I've got a Napoleon Hill book coming out. I didn't mention it's called The Path to Riches. It's Napoleon Hill material. It's coming out in February also with Sound Wisdom, and it's up as a pre-order. And then we got the one I did, Napoleon Hill Secret by Don Green. And then I'm starting that self-confidence course. In fact, it put up, I think its site went up last night, but they can go ahead and do it. It's a 6-session thing. And I'm confident that people, if they have doubts about themselves, time they complete that 6-session course on self-confidence, they'll feel better. They'll feel better about themselves. And there's a whole lot of people out there lacking confidence, and that's the one thing that holds them back. They don't have and I don't mean this ego maniac of thinking something that you're not. I just mean a calm feeling that you can make a difference in what you might not know the answers, but you can get with people, and that's a good part of what you shared. That they ain't gonna know all the answers. If you wait to get all the answers, you'll never start. But you can get the help of other good people out there to help move you along the way. And that's all we're trying to do. And that's exactly what you're trying to share with others. And you don't have to know all the answers, but here's your good start, and here's something that'll help move you along. And that's
exactly right. Well, my friends, for all of you that are listening and watching right now, how about this? I mean, this conversation, truly remarkable. I am sure that you were taking plenty of notes. Definitely make a point to follow Don. Check out the Napoleon Hill Foundation. We'll provide links to all of the sites and places where you can purchase the books as well. Don't walk, run to buy the next copy of a Napoleon Hill and Don Green book. You will definitely appreciate it and experience life-changing transformation. Thank you all for watching and listening, and please take a moment to subscribe, rate, and would you leave us a review? We would certainly appreciate that. Let us know what you thought about this episode, and to enjoy more episodes, all you have to do is visit jscherbusinessconsulting.com/podcast. And until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and we'll see you on the next Business Minds Coffee Chat. Take care, everybody.
Jay Scherr.
Jay Scherr.
Business Consultant.
Jay Scherr Business Consulting.